During the pandemic, there was a lot of stress and difficult times for board game publishers with Kickstarter Game Found, right? They would start these games before the pandemic started or when it was just getting going, and we weren't sure what's going to happen in the future. So they make these games, and then later on, when they were ready to deliver those games with shipping costs, they found out that the games were kind of expensive, right? It was a little hard to do this, and this was something that happened to me way back when. I had backed a set of Watch Swords of a Coin, and I was pretty excited for this game because I liked the original game. And then eventually they did a live stream, and I don't want to show up the other updates, but you can look at them. It's right before these, where they needed to raise about 20,000 extra dollars to cover shipping costs. Because at this time when this announcement was done, which was right in the middle of 2021, and they wanted to start shipping the games out. If you all remember, during this time, the container costs were like stupidly high at that point. Like something that used to cost hundreds of dollars cost thousands upon thousands of dollars. So they asked a lot of people to chip in and try to give some money, and they did like a whole live stream and all this fun stuff. And they reached their $20,000, I don't believe, but they got a decent amount. And basically, it worked out that they asked everyone that they could, hey, if each backer gave $5, like we can reach our $20,000. And they said, like, we're still going to give you your game, right? Like, we're just asking for a little bit of help on top of it. So if you can give $5, please do. But we get it if you can't. And then I think some people, like you can see a lot here on the right, gave like $10. I think I gave $10 too, because not everyone can afford it and had budgets, whatever. It was a crazy time. But I feel like they handled it right. There are other companies, though, that are not doing their best with this. So we're not going to get into Mythic's whole debacle with Darkest Dungeon, but let's just say they kind of did something similar to what we're about to talk about. They didn't have enough money, so they asked for more money, and they're doing it again. And they're making a pretty big stink about it this time, and it's kind of crazy at this point. So this game had 10,000 backers and raised $1.5 million. Now, it's important to note that this isn't $1.5 million of profit and or like straight into their pockets or anything. It's $1.5 million of revenue. This is important to note because a lot of people think, oh, they just made $1.5 million. They didn't. They still have to pay for all this stuff, and if there's licensing fees, which is Tom Clancy and whatever and all that fun stuff, like there's a lot of things you have to pay for, but still. Anyway, they came out with this whole update, and it's kind of got Board Game Geek in a big tizzy. It's got Reddit in a big tizzy, and I wanted to cover it because I kept seeing it everywhere. And there were some other decent videos online about this, but they go through all these things of what you get, which is always a good sign in a video of like, hey, friendly reminder, we're giving you all these things for free. Maybe we shouldn't have because we're gonna make you pay for it now. So they started talking about how they're getting to production over the past few weeks, and we've approached numerous printers and suppliers from different backgrounds, giving them the exact same specifications. We compared everything to get the best price, all inclusive. Some prices were good for papers, some for injection molding, all this fun stuff. In the end, we obtained discounts and calculated the price as accurately as possible, exact amount of needs, and all this fun stuff. Went back to the original supplier with some other stuff. Okay, so they shopped around. So now they are asking for more money. And as we have said, the combined crisis of COVID and the war in Ukraine, which we did not anticipate, have changed the international situation. Prices have literally exploded in all areas, and estimates on which we based ourselves before and during the Kickstarter campaign are absolutely no longer relevant. Now, the reason I brought up Set a Watch in the very beginning of this video wasn't to like call them out or anything, but it was to kind of make a difference, or to kind of show a difference here. Set a Watch, their campaign launched in September 22nd, 2020. All right, so this is the pandemic still going on. Prices haven't gone crazy yet. The supply chain is not all out of whack or anything like that, right? So companies that were trying to ship in 2021, I tend to give them a little bit of leeway on this because you really didn't know. You knew things were weird and things were tough and whatever. But 2021, we knew shipping prices were crazy. We knew all prices were escalating. Everything was going up. And now the Siege is saying, or a Six Siege is saying that, we didn't know that this would be crazy or anything like that. Now, I tend to find that a little hard to believe because their project launched June 22nd, 2021. Now, things have been more expensive since then, sure, but there's no reason to think at that time that prices were going to be coming down or prices were even stagnant at that time. We had all been talking about inflation in 2021, and going into 2022 is going to continue to go up. This isn't anything new or different, so I'm not 100% sure why they thought that was going to be the case, but they did. To give you some examples, the cost of paper and cardboard has increased by 50 to 100% on average, which is wild. The paper we use, for example, has gone from 600 per ton to 1200 per ton. Hopefully, there's not like a cheaper paper option out there, like, and because they say it goes from 50% to 100% and they're paying the 100% increase. I'm gonna guess that the 50% increase, it's still more expensive. Like it went from like 1200 ton to 1400 ton or something, whatever it is. I'm gonna guess that's their argument, but it's still like, it's weird to put it that way, but whatever. The cost of labor in China, where games are produced, assembled, and shipped, has also doubled from $4 an hour to $8 an hour. That's wild. The cost of energy, plastic, and raw materials has increased by almost 50%. Finally, while container fees have recently dropped from the ridiculous highs, but not back to pre-crisis levels, which they're not going to anytime soon. Like, there's no one that is seriously thinking that container prices are going to go back down to like pre-pandemic levels anytime soon. Like, just no one seriously thinks this in any industry, but that's a whatever. The cost of the last mile has skyrocketed and has never been higher. From my understanding, last mile is kind of like a delivery software coordination service thing. You don't need to use it, like from my understanding. So I don't know why they're using it and don't use something else or whatever. But okay, things cost more. On our side, it must be said we spent much more time than expected in the development of the game, with more people than we expected working on it and longer than we originally estimated, which caused extra costs, but also had the advantage of having an optimal, well-tested, very balanced game in the end. This is a weird argument to make to me. Because look, the idea of Kickstarter is that you don't have a completely fleshed out game. Like I know that this has kind of gone away, and when companies like Chip Theory Games or whatever do this, people are like, why isn't this game already done? Why aren't we using this as a prepayment system, right? Because other larger companies, that's how they do it. So I get the original idea Kickstarter was to do this, like have a rough idea and then, make the best game possible. But you have to understand you only have so many resources. You have to understand that costs were gonna go up. Like there was nobody saying in 2021 and even today that costs are expected to go down sometime soon. Like nobody was saying that. So I don't know why you thought that with the money you had that you could spend more time and resources on it and go, no, surely we'll make up this cost somewhere down the road. Like it doesn't make sense logically. So that whole argument's kind of weird. Again, I get the idea of that, we're trying to make the best game possible. And it really is how Kickstarter is supposed to work, that you're supposed to develop during the Kickstarter process. But to say, like, imagine like every other company did that. Like, hey, we charge you $20 for a game, but we're going to charge you 40 now because my original idea was really bad and it was trash. And I want you to basically pay me more because I actually spent more time working on the game and I didn't spend all the time in the beginning, right? Like it's a weird argument to make, but whatever. So they go on and continue, and they said, we already faced this problem with another big project, Darkest Dungeon, which you mentioned before, and we had to ask backers for an additional contribution to cover these costs. More than 80% of backers paid it, which allows us to deliver to more than 20,000 backers who received their wave one and are enjoying it today and seem very satisfied. Without their contribution, we would not have been able to deliver the game to date. I watched a bit of his video, and he's talking a bit about like the wave two isn't coming out to like next year, basically, which is wild, that basically because you didn't want to pay a premium, you have to wait an extra year and a half to like get your game. But okay, sure, why not? So let's get into this actual breakdown. So the way they break this down is, depending on your pledge, here is the amount that will be asked, to which you have to add you will have to add the shipping costs. Okay. Fresh Recruit pledge, they want $39. The Trooper gameplay all in, they want $99. And the Smooth Operator Premium all in, they want $129. So let's just compare these really fast. So the Fresh Recruit pledge was $69. So let's just say it's 70 because I'm bad at math, and they want $40 more. That's more than a 50% increase. Like that's close to 60% increase, right? That's crazy. Like they want you to pay that much more. Like the whole reason people paid so little, and we can look at 3,530 of them paid the basic amount, is because they couldn't afford, probably $100 game, or they didn't think it was worth $100. But all right, so they're asking for like a 60% increase there, roughly. Trooper gameplay all in is asking for $99, and it was originally $199. So that's a direct 50% increase, right? They want a 50% increase for those 2,482 backers. Okay. And then the Smooth Operator Premium All In, they want you to spend $129 on a pledge that was $269. So, let's say $270 to $130. That's less than 50%. So they want the people that didn't pledge as much to subsidize, like percentage wise, the people who paid more, which is like kind of weird too. Like that's a weird tack to take on it. They had 2,006 or 2,912 backers. Now, also, if I understand correctly, I don't know if they did late pledges or anything like this. I think I may be wrong on this. I think Kickstarter for these counts only counts the initial funding period, right? They don't include late pledges into it. So I'm sure they got more late pledges. Realistically, most companies do. So I don't know if these are in these figures. I don't think they are. I think it's just a number. So it may even be higher than that for each level. But let's just take each level, right? Let's just take each one, and we can multiply 3,530 by the $69, and that gets you $137,670. If you got this Trooper pledge, and did it by the 2,482 amount, it gets you $245,718. And finally, the 269 amount, if you multiply it by 2,912, it gets you 375,648, or that amount by the amount that they're asking, right? So that makes it just shy of $760,000 more than they are asking, right? And again, I don't know if this includes late pledges. I don't think it does. I think this is just the I think there's more to it. It's probably closer to $1 million at this point. And they raised $1.5 million, which means they were 50% off of their guess. They were 50% off of their guess, right? Of what they thought it would cost to make this game. That's wild if you were that far off. I'm sorry, that is crazy to be that far off. I get being like a little ways off, but not that far off. So what's going on then is they're not doing things kind of like Set a Watch, which again is the whole reason why I mentioned them in the beginning. Set a Watch that, hey, you're still going to get your game. We're just asking, can you please help us out a little bit? We really appreciate it. We're a really small company. That's not what Mythic is doing. What Mythic is doing is starting Monday afternoon for the American time zone, you'll receive 2 emails. The first one will be the creation of your private account on a secure portal. You'll be able to go directly to the web portal from the link provided in the email and create your own password, yada, yada. The second will specify your pledge level as well as the amount of your contribution to the extra costs, including shipping costs. You will have 2 weeks to pay this contribution via our website. It's very important to note several things. Okay, this is important. The amounts of this contribution have been calculated as accurately as possible. They only cover the printing needs of the Project 6 Siege, right? So again, this isn't, when they talk about like shipping stuff, this stuff that they're talking about is just to cover the actual production of the game. So when they use the whole argument of the finish line or last line, whatever that their shipping thing was called, now I need to know what it was called. Last mile. Last mile, from my understanding, doesn't have anything to do with production of the game, right? It has to do with shipping, but I guess that's not even factored into this. The amounts of this contribution have been calculated as accurately as possible. They only cover the printing needs for Project 6 Siege. The funds received for this contribution will be entirely and exclusively reserved for the printing of 6 Siege, which is interesting. They have to specify that because it has been alleged that Mythic and some other companies, and I don't know for a fact that they have, maybe they never have, I have no idea, but there's been alleged that some companies like this that ask for money, what they use is this current Kickstarter's money for like the next Kickstarter. They start a whole cycle where they're kind of like perpetually in debt, and it's never great, so they make a next big Kickstarter to help pay for the final one, like the last one. Like it's a very vicious cycle to try to get out of, and you never really can, unfortunately, or I haven't really seen companies do it, unfortunately. We need a sufficient commitment rate to be able to start printing, and we'll keep you informed of the commitment rate after the 2-week period. If we do not reach the commitment rate, we will commit to reimburse all contributors for these additional costs for the amount of their contributions minus the bank fees. At the end of the fundraising period, if we have reached the minimum commitment to go into production, we will start printing. According to our printing and logistic partners, the games and the expansions will be delivered in one wave only from estimated October this year. So if you're unwilling or unable to play, you will not receive your game in October. Okay. We will remain open to other possibilities to deliver to you by monitoring the evolution of prices, even if it seems very unlikely they will decrease in the coming months. It is therefore an important, even decisive choice that you have to make today. Let's talk about this. So this is wild to me, right? They are threatening you with never getting your game, right? You thought you were buying a game for $70 or whatever at the base model, and now you're expected to pay $110 because hey, we can't do math really well. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. It's look, I get companies that were hit in the very beginning with during the pandemic, even when you came out games during 2020, very few people could have like guessed what 2021, 22 inflation rates would have been. Same with shipping costs, same with all that stuff. But you made a game in 2021. We all knew what was going on. It was the talk of the town. You couldn't look anywhere, like go to any news site without reading about inflation and shipping costs. Like, what were you thinking? But now to say that, hey, if you don't pay your demand, we can't guarantee you a game. This is a terrible move. I'm sorry, this is like the worst move a company can possibly make. Honestly, it just makes no sense. I get it if you want to say, hey, you're going to get your game regardless, but people are willing to pay more will get it first. It sounds like that's kind of what they did with the Darkest Dungeon thing, is that, you paid a premium and you got the first wave, but you'll get your game eventually. That's not a great move, but at least that's a better move than kind of insinuating that, hey, if you're unwilling or unable to pay, hey, if you're poor, sorry, you're not going to receive it in October. Not our fault that you made poor financial decisions like we did, because that's only reserved for us. But they will remain open to other possibilities to deliver to you by monitoring the evaluation of prices, even if it seems very unlikely that they will decrease in the coming months. So here's the thing. Inflation is not going down, right? Prices aren't going down anytime soon, realistically, like major downward trends. Like that's not going to be a thing. So this to me kind of leaves the door open that they could say like, hey, we're not canceling on you. It's your fault for not paying us more. And that's wild to me. That's absolutely wild. And this is part of the reason why people really don't like Kickstarter anymore, or even, I think GameFound does things a little bit better with like their honest pricing guarantee or whatever it's called. And look, people are talking about like, we're going to report this to Kickstarter. Kickstarter doesn't care. Kickstarter got paid. Kickstarter says on its own website, hey, maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. Not our fault. This isn't like a pre-order system, even though you all treat it like one. It's not our fault. It's whatever. And Kickstarter won't do a thing about this. They don't care because they already got paid. So that doesn't really matter to them. Mythic, I don't know what happens to Mythic in the future. I don't know how or why people would keep backing these games. I mean, this is not the first time, and if they keep making games in the future, it ain't going to be the last time either. But I love talking about marketing in general. I really love talking about marketing and public relations in general. This is something I deal with a lot in my personal life. And we've judged Fantasy Flight Games marketing and PR handling on this channel before and talking about how bad it can be on things. This is next level. This is next level bad. I've never quite seen anything like this where you are holding people's games hostage until they pay a ransom. There's essentially you're asking people to pay a ransom, which is insane. Because you were not fiscally responsible with this game, essentially, right? And I'm sorry, I don't buy the excuse of, yeah, we didn't know the prices were going to go up. That's crazy. Who would have seen that coming, except for everyone. So anyway, I know this is a bit different of a video than we've usually done, but this is everywhere on Reddit and BGG right now, and it's kind of huge news. And I wanted to kind of cover it a little bit because this is crazy. If any of my fellow watchers of this channel, if you have backed any of Mythic's games, have they done this with other stuff? I know people have floated it for different games, that they've done this with quite a few games. I guess there's other stuff going on. Let me know, because I only know about this level game, and I just researched this game and like touched on Darkest Dungeon and not the whole time. But this is crazy to me. So anyway, hopefully people get their games that they paid for, which is just wild. But maybe they won't. Hopefully they do though, and hopefully Mythic turns this around and becomes a decent company and just ships this stuff out. I don't know though. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. See you all next time.